Hi, this is Ken and Michelle Bass.
And you're listening to the Resilient Parenting Podcast.
Well, welcome back once again. Here we are, just finished celebrating our 50th. Our 50. Like
50.
Molly Shannon on Saturday Night Live. She goes, I'm 50. I'm 50. And I'm kicking. I can still kick.
I can still kick, and then I need Advil because I didn't stretch before I did it. It hurts everywhere. Yes, we celebrated our 50th episode by having a special, walk down memory lane. We had revisited some episode interviews, and it was a lot of fun. It was.
Yeah, we couldn't go back to everybody's interview. It would take forever. It would have taken 50 weeks.
That would have been really long. Yes, but you can go back and listen to all the episodes. Each one is packed full of information and resources, so pretty cool. And it was fun going down memory lane, and I'm excited for the next 50. Moving forward, 50 plus 50 is 100.
Well, now we're into 51, so might as well go for that.
Okay, we are joined by Keith Orchard, licensed clinical social worker in Coeur d'Alene. We're so excited. He's the mental health coordinator for the Coeur d'Alene Public Schools. He's also an author and speaker and founder and owner of Orchard Consulting. And I just want to do a quick plug. We'll talk about it later, but he has an upcoming book, which is going to be released in fall of 2025. It is called The Fostering Resilience Workbook, Strategies and Steps to Support Our Learners, the Elementary Edition. So welcome to our podcast.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So tell us how you got into this line of work and what a little bit that you want the listeners to know about you.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. And I'm the mental health coordinator for the Coeur d'Alene School District. And that was kind of my dream. I started as a teacher. That was my goal, was to be a teacher when I got out of college. And I did for 2 years. But it turns out teaching's really hard. I don't know if you knew that. So I quit. I quit really fast, actually, and then did a bunch of other stuff and decided I wanted to be a counselor, and so became a therapist, a social worker, and did lots of different things. And when they were hiring for a mental health coordinator for the school district, which was a brand new position, started 6 years ago, I jumped at that opportunity. I was really excited and now have been working for Coeur d'Alene Schools for the last 6 years.
Wow. So as the mental health coordinator, what do you do?
Well, there's actually two of us, which is amazing. And we're unique in Idaho as a school district to have not only a mental health program, but we have two people. We actually have four people in our program, but two of us run the program. So we run lots of trainings for teachers. And it's professional development to understand about discipline and how to work with kids who are just kind of tricky. Along with that, we have all the programs, our suicide prevention programs like Sources of Strength, and training teachers in QPR Gatekeeper, and overseeing counselors and making sure they understand all of our suicide prevention. We also run the crisis team. If there's a crisis in a school, our team shows up. And our threat assessment response team, we run that as well. So run lots of different programs in the school, anything that has to do with mental health or safety of our students.
What have the results been like since you've instituted all this?
Well, that is a good question. One thing that we find really challenging is to actually assess, get data on actual changes in a school system, because it's far and wide, and our impact becomes, unfortunately, a little hard to measure. And also in Idaho, there's been a push to say, well, we don't want to talk about mental health for a little while now, and it's not okay. Not only we don't want you to talk about it, since you can't ask the kids about it, it gets really hard to survey students and to and to get hard data. What we do know, though, is that in this last year, we didn't have a single incident to respond to, not one single incident in the school district, which was really amazing. So we think we're both doing good work and got quite lucky. So that's one data piece anyway.
That's amazing, and I'm sure that teachers that you're supporting probably has some feedback about how maybe it's changed their approach with all of the coaching and teaching that you provide, especially since you had that opportunity to experience yourself for a couple years, how difficult it is to be a teacher. Um, when we were talking offline before, preparing for today's episode, one of the things that you said that really stood out to me was, like the Resilient Parenting podcast is about parenting in any capacity, and teachers play a significant role in children's lives and families' lives, and it was just a different way of looking at it, and so. What have you heard from the teachers that you have worked with about what you're doing?
So I think that's the area that we have the greatest impact or the greatest noticeable and measurable impact is we can talk to teachers about what it's like for two things. One, we give them training in TBRI. And we're unique in Coeur d'Alene. We're one of the few school districts, certainly in Idaho and around the country, that uses TBRI as kind of a model.
Can you please share with our listeners what TBRI is?
Yes, TBRI is trust-based relational intervention, and it was developed a while ago from Dr. Karen Purvis and Dr. David Cross at the Child Development Center at Texas Christian University, and it was really developed for working with children in foster care and who have been adopted. So those from just the roughest backgrounds and who have broken attachments. And what's unique is that TBRI is an attachment-based protocol, and there are lots of models out there for how to work for teachers, how to work with children, how to run a classroom management, and how to respond to kids. But TBRI is uniquely set up about relationships and about attachment being at its core.
So speaking of unique, you're doing something different and really a trendsetter in your area. Can you explain what you're doing exactly, and maybe give some ideas for other places to maybe take some of this on?
It's a big thing to take on, honestly. So, gosh, where do we start? I mean, we start at the end is we give trainings for teachers, and we give the 2 day training, which is like TBRI will do a 2 day practitioner training, not practitioner, excuse me, 2 day training for parents, and it gives you the whole foundation of all of the ideas and the whole model. And that is what we do for our teachers. And the feedback from that is overwhelming. It is positive, and people are saying, "This is amazing. I get it. This is changing the way I think about kids. It's changing the way I'm thinking about teaching, and it's giving me different skills to use in the classroom that are applicable right away." So we love that. That there is a challenge though, because TBRI, in order to train that, you need to become a practitioner. And to become a practitioner is no small matter. It's expensive and takes some time. Expensive compared to other models to become trainers in other models. And so we in Coeur d'Alene have been moving at this for quite a while. So we have up in Coeur d'Alene, probably 30, 40 practitioners within the general area. And in our school system, we have over 20 practitioners in our school system alone. So we have enough people set up so not only can we give a training for the school, but then we have an expert set up in each school that can help train, coach, and support teachers for when they get stuck when they're trying to implement it.
What are some, I'm a TBRI practitioner as well, and I'm curious if you could share a little bit about maybe just a couple of things that teachers have found useful in their classroom.
Well, I think if I could back up for just a minute, there,
Oh
there
yeah,
is
of
a challenge
course.
because TBRI was developed for foster parents, for parenting. And
Right.
so for a number of years, we taught that session exactly as it was, as if they were parents. And then teachers had to go, okay, how does that work in a classroom? And so we've spent 6 years translating it to make it teacher-based TBRI, education-based
Mm,
TBRI. And so it is different. What you would get as a foster parent would be a different training, the exact same model, but it would be very different examples and very different activities that we do in
mm-hmm.
order for them to understand. They go, oh, this is how it applies to school.
Okay, because that I am familiar with, supporting parents. So that's where my curiosity was, is how to make it, you know, make sense to teachers. Ken and I were on a walk yesterday, and we were talking about this and thinking about how much of the day teachers are in the children's life and what an impact this can have. And then the curiosity around how can you take this information and have it then go home as well. Is there more to that?
Well, that is a challenge as well. We know, so when we have a really challenging student who's struggling at school, we come in and we wrap around and we do as much TBRI as we can. We train the teachers, all the adults who touch that student, which is lots of them usually. If the student's particularly tricky, there's lots of people involved trying to help, and we try and coach and train them to be consistent and to be sending the same message and to be responding in similar ways, because that consistency helps that child. And then there's times that we recognize that that's not enough, really. The best way we could help that child is to help their parents. If we can create their if they we could create a home environment that is calmer or safer, then that child's going to do better. But unfortunately, that's not the school's role. That's not what we do. And we don't have social workers in Coeur d'Alene Public Schools. Some school districts have social workers, others do not in Idaho. There are other states that every school has counselors and social workers. So that is a gap for us, and it is hard. Who on our staff would take that on as a role to engage parents? And so we try, but it is a little bit of a challenge. So that's where we work on our community partnerships, and we call the people that we know that that's what they're designed to do, and we see if we can get them enrolled and supporting so we can wrap around the whole family.
You've adapted over the last year or two here in Idaho, of course, for the climate of the state. What do you foresee in the future as far as adaptations?
Oh, no more, I hope. I don't know. I don't know what I foresee. I know that every year we have to pass a levy. Our mental health department is levy funded. The state does not fund that. And so because Coeur d'Alene uh, leadership, the superintendent, all the way down, and then the taxpayers say, no, we want our school system to be really good and robust and have lots of opportunities for students, they pass a levy, and they passed it for 30 years in a row. And because of that, then we can have things like athletics and music and a mental health department, which is wonderful. And so but we have to pass a levy every other year. So our
Wow.
jobs always feel like they are a little bit uncertain. And so we plan for as far forward as we can plan. But it's tough to plan forward for 5 or 10 years if you don't know the funding landscape for that time period.
That's so true. So the folks that are listening right now, we have a wide range. Some that are parents, some that are educators or professionals, um, and across the state of Idaho. So what are some things that for folks that are thinking, "Wow, this is great. I want this in our school district." What are some things that then maybe they can do, or for parents, if they want to learn more about TBRI, what are some things that they can do right now?
Oh gosh. Well, first the schools. There are opportunities to become trained. Now, the question would be, would you bring in a consultant or a trainer to do some professional development at your school? And lots of schools do that. So I travel all around Idaho and all around the region to do just that for schools. They say, hey, can you teach this to us at our back to school full day professional development? And so that's one way, right? And people get introduced, and then from there they go, well, how's the follow up? How do we implement it? Usually you need more than one presentation, right? You need multiple days of professional development. So we try and find someone within that school district that can provide that service for them within them. If not, they continue to consult or hire someone outside for a little bit. And then usually they do a book study, right? Or two. And so we recommend a number of books for them. And then as a group or a team, they go through the book once they have the foundation. And that's kind of how they start implementing like TBRI practices into their school district.
And you brought up book. So I think this is a
Uh-huh.
good segue. We didn't have this planned, I promise. To your upcoming book. Tell us about this, the Fostering Resilience Workbook. We love the name Resilience Workbook.
Yeah.
Strategies and steps to support our learners.
Well, I had this idea. So I was doing these presentations. I said, well, I do a whole day or 2 day presentations. What if I just took it and wrote it almost word for word into a book, right? Because the presentations are going really good. It's already organized. What if I did that? So I presented that idea to my brother-in-law, who is a education consultant and expert and travels the world. He's a superstar. He'd written already 2 books on trauma in schools with a partner. And he said, well, what if we wrote it together? Because then there'd be a wide reach. So Pete Hall and Kristin Souers are bona fide superstars in this world. And Kristin lives in Spokane, Washington, actually north of Spokane now. She moved. And Pete Hall lives in Post Falls, Idaho. And so we partnered. And with a group of 3, it's harder to write a book, but we did it eventually, 7 years later. And now it's coming out. And it really is this idea of this structure, say, when and it's for teachers and specifically for education and for teachers. If you have a tricky student, what can you do? And the whole idea was this would be if you don't have a coach, someone you can call in and say, hey, can you observe this kid? Can you talk me through what it is? When someone asks me, I go, here's the way I think about it, and here's the steps I do. I would ask about, and here's the things that we would do together. And so we just tried to put that that's why it's a workbook. It's not a book describing this. It's very practical workbook. Here's a journal assignment. What are you thinking? How is this student affecting you? How do you think this student perceives you? And there's journal assignments and prompts for you to really think through the relationship and how you're connected and the needs that might be behind the behavior, and then possible interventions that could help with the needs behind those behaviors.
Sounds like I shouldn't be waiting for the graphic novel version.
It's it got bigger than we planned. We said it's going to be tight. It's going to be short. It's just a workbook. And now 200 pages later, it's a nice looking workbook though. They did a really great job.
How are people going to be able to get this book?
Like me.
Like you want to buy one, but you're not in the schools.
Yes.
So it could maybe help other thing, but it really is directed directly for teachers. The first one we wrote was for elementary level, and that's coming out in October. And if you go well, I'd have to send you the link.
We'll put it in the
Okay.
show notes.
So you can pre-order now, and it's being published by ASCD, the Association of School something districts. Uh-oh, I should probably know that. I don't know what ASCD stands for. They're a national education organization, and they publish a lot of books. And they published Pete and Kristin's earlier books, and so it was a natural fit.
Very nice. Well, I am very curious about this, and it's interesting. When I went to school originally, before I became a social worker, I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. So I've always loved, schools and being a part of that. And my sister's a teacher, so I think this would be a really good gift for her.
There you go. It'd be a wonderful gift for any educator in your life. And if they're a secondary educator, we hope the secondary version will come out sometime in the spring. March or April is our hope.
So, and in the show notes, I mentioned the show notes. We'll have some links to the information about TBRI. There is a couple of really good YouTube videos about kind of like the overview of TBRI. There's just lots of information. I know there's a podcast that explains TBRI for anyone who's interested, and then information on how to be trained yourself. There also is a link where you can find a local TBRI practitioner in your area. I don't know how often that gets updated, but that's there as well. For different areas if you are interested in this. And then for those that maybe are TBRI practitioners who are interested in this, how can they move forward your training into school districts in their area? What do they need to do?
Wow, that's a good question. I guess I have a sample size of one. And what I did is I wanted to do presentations. I wanted to become a speaker. And so I was doing these presentations on TBRI like principles. I
Mhm.
went to the school district, just to the principal at my son's school, and said, "Would you be interested in this?" She said, "Well, you should talk to this person, and then you should talk to this person." And so I got in front of a group of people, and the key was I got in front of the assistant superintendent for elementary, and she went, "Have all my staff needs this. Can you do this for all my staff?" I said, "Sure." And that's how we got started. And then 2 years later, she said, "We're going to start a mental health department. Would you want to be on the team?" And so the whole thing got started because I reached out to the school district and said, "Would you be interested in this content? I think it'd be really helpful for your teachers." And they
Wow.
agreed. And so that's how I got started. If you wanted to start in a school, I mean, if you're not within the school district, the first thing is that would be how you'd reach out. You'd reach out and say, "I have some really good professional development for your team if you'd like to see it." And then you try and recruit the highest level teacher and advocate, even just a principal. A principal would say, "Yeah, can you do it for my school?" And then that school starts to transform. And then other principals go, "What are you doing there?" And then now it starts the flow of this beautiful
Okay.
thing.
I've gathered from everything you were talking about since the beginning is have been restrictions, of course, you've had to deal with for the last couple of years, but they're mere roadblocks, and you're providing alternate routes or ways around those roadblocks. So there is a way to look forward to the future.
I agree. I agree. Even though certain words and certain things became hot and button issues and said, "You're not supposed to do social emotional learning in schools anymore." And we go,
Mm,
"Okay." But at the same time, people are going, "But our kids are suffering, so we got to do something." We go, "Okay." So we just keep working around. And really, it was a political movement. It wasn't really embedded in reality in what we were doing. Um, so there's hope for me. I mean, I think we're through it now. Our board meetings have now become boring again, which is lovely. They're completely boring. They're ridiculous, and it's lovely. And so we know that we're doing okay now, and we're moving forward, and yeah, we're doing okay. It's going to be all right.
it's gonna be all right. And we appreciate so much you coming on and talking to us about what you're doing. It's amazing work. And I just like to say one idea one idea and bringing it to other like-minded people, and like, look at how quickly it spread and changed, and it's making such a positive impact on your area. So I hope you know that you are also a superstar.
That's nice. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's lovely. It's great work. I'm really happy to do it. I'm proud to be doing it. And thanks for having me on to help spread the message. If it encourages somebody else to pick this up in their school district and to train a teacher a little bit better, it makes them calmer. It gives them more confidence. It makes them more resilient. Because that's the thing. Teaching's tough, and lots of people get out. And so we
Hmm.
know that in order for them to stay in the long term, they need to understand how to take care of themselves, but also have some skills that help them through some tough years with some really tough kids. And then they can stay in longer. And it's a really wonderful profession if you can stay in for the long term.
Absolutely.
Thank you for all you do.
Yeah, well, thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
welcome. Thanks for having me on. It's been wonderful to meet you both.
Likewise.
This podcast is brought to you by the Idaho Children's Trust Fund.